really do point a finger at the risks involved with these indiscriminate austerity programmes. Thank you very much indeed. And Mrs. Bauer now has the floor for 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Youth unemployment and its long-term consequences, one of the most worrying European problems, perhaps is enough for us to point out how this can have an impact on the demographic crisis. Now here we have to look at the problem in a nuanced way, because youth unemployment is not a homogeneous problem, and we have to look at the broad scale which exists. The report puts forward about 100 recommendations, and there's a number of these that I'd like to talk about in particular. If we're talking about unemployment amongst people without qualifications, we're talking about a 50% figure for young people. And then if we're looking at careers advice, that has to be taken into account, because here free choice of job shouldn't be a synonym of free choice of not having a job. So we need to look at supply and demand, and we need to try to bring them in line, and I don't think that this can be left up to the free market alone. It would seem that this is not a genuine solution, and consequently I'd like to stress that it's worrying if we're talking about creating jobs that people feel at a loss. They don't really know how to tackle this. If we're looking at illiterate or people who can't read and write looking for a job, how can we tackle that? And I'd also like to stress that very often we don't have the proper coordination being carried out. There are initiatives, for example, the European Globalisation Fund is something that we've been talking about, and here we're talking about getting support given to regions, but young people need to be able to get support too, particularly if they are threatened with being put out of a job as a result of globalisation. But this isn't really a strategic approach. We need to be a bit more consistent in our coordination efforts. Thank you.
La parole. Pardon. Ah, il y a une carte bleue.
Oh, there's a blue card. Mrs. Bauer, will you accept a blue card?
Blue card. Oui. Alors je vous donne la parole.
You have the floor.
Monsieur Storia.
Mr. Storia.